Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Soul Talks with Alka. And they say adoption is not a childhood experience, it's a lifelong experience. So today Maribeth is going to share some excerpts from her life about what it means to be adopted. Welcome, Maribeth.
Welcome.
I'm so glad you joined me.
Thank you for asking me.
Of course. So Maribeth, you knew you were adopted from an early early childhood?
I knew that I was adopted my entire life as long as I can remember.
Okay. So, and did you ever growing up think, why was I given up for adoption?
Sometimes when I was younger, but not really. I mean, I had a good life and a good family. I had 3 siblings growing up, 3 older siblings, and a nice life. My parents always told me that I was the special one because I was the one that they chose, and that the other 3 kids they got stuck with. Right?
Yeah.
Sort of a little joke, but it was a nice way of thinking about it.
Yes.
And I guess it wasn't until I was much older and a parent myself that I thought more about my birth parents.
Right.
I mean, I always thought about them a little bit in the back of my mind, but not about doing anything about it.
Yeah. But now you have 2 kids, right? And you have 2 adult kids.
They're 20.
Yeah, adult kids.
Almost.
So when did you start thinking, okay, you know what, I want to know who my mom is? Well, who my birth mother is.
Right. So I was 38 years old, and I remember reading an article in the newspaper, Dear Abby or Ann Landers, and it was about how to find your birth parents. And it was, you right away, this was not pre-internet, but it wasn't like now the DNA that you just do and everyone's reunited. So I wrote away to this place called the Soundex Registry Reunion, snail mail in Las Vegas. And they have volunteers there who once a week go through and they try and match. And apparently the only people who register with them are people who want to be found.
Right.
And because I was very much an adult at that time, I was, married with children. I didn't want to find anyone that didn't want to be found. I wanted to be respectful of their wishes. I didn't know what the circumstances were, and it wasn't a necessity for me to find them. I just thought, hey, this might be a kind of neat thing to do.
Did you ever tell your mom that you're now going to find?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did.
And how was she? What was her reaction?
So, well, at the age when I decided to look for my birth parents, I was going through a few things in my personal life, and one of them was the death of my father.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
One of them was going through a divorce.
Oh, so lots happening in your life.
Right. And they say that there's 3 main times people look for their birth parents, and those are 2 of them.
Oh.
The third is the birth of a child.
Okay.
So I already had children, and my kids were about 5,
Okay.
I think at the time,
Okay.
twins. So I heard back from this registry really quickly, actually.
Wait, so I want to go back to your mom's reaction.
Well, what I was going to say is it kind of ties in.
Oh, okay.
I heard back from them, and I blew off the phone call. They just kept leaving me messages. Oh, we have a few more questions. We have a few more questions. And I thought, well, I don't have any answers. I have no information. I'm not even going to call them back. They can't do anything. And then finally, one day the woman called, and she got me on the phone. And, it was this older woman, and you could tell it was her volunteer job once a week. And so I felt really bad. And I said, I'm so sorry I haven't called you back, but I really don't have any information. And she said, no, the reason we keep calling you is because we think we have a match.
Oh, wow.
And I said, wow, I didn't give you anything other than my birth date and, city or whatever. So it was at that time that I said, and the woman was so excited that she thought she made a connection here, and she wanted me to call them right away. And I said, no, I can't call right away. You're welcome to give me the information, but tell them I will call them in like a week. because I wanted to talk to my mother. So at that time, I had to come clean. I was like, oh no. Like I felt like I was betraying my mom, who I love, you know.
Right.
So I took her out to lunch, and, you know, we were just chatting, and I asked her the question. I said, you know, do you know if I had a name when I was born that I was given other than the one you gave me? And she said, yeah. And I said, was it Elizabeth? She's like, yeah.
How did you know?
Yeah. And so I came clean and I told her what I did. And then the only other information I had been given from these people in Las Vegas was the grandparents' careers or something. You know, one was like a lawyer and one was a doctor or something. And so I asked my mom if she remembered that, and she said she did. So then I said, uh-oh, I think I might have found them. You know, what do you think if I go through with contacting them? And she was really supportive about it. I know it had to be hard for her.
Yeah.
If I was 38, she was like in her 70s already, you know. And I said to her, I'm like, listen, if you don't want me to, I won't. And it's fine. I will totally respect your wishes. And she said, no, I kind of always knew this day would come.
Oh.
And I said, okay. So that's how that went. And about a week later.
Did she shed a tear?
No, she's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine, right? She's, even if she's dreading that day, like.
She didn't shed a tear in front of me. Anyway, I don't know what she did in private.
Right.
You know, or if she talked to my other siblings about it.
Yeah.
Or, you know. So I tread very lightly around the subject with her. Right. Still to this day, you know.
Of course. Of course. I mean, it has to be hard, right? She's raised you as the choice child, right? You're the child of choice.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, at the end, I'm thinking in her mind, because there was a time where I was thinking of adopting a child, and that was my biggest scare, was what if someday the child says, listen, I want to look for my birth mother. What is that going to feel like for me?
I think that the one thing that the adoptive mothers must be concerned about, and I'm totally just speaking out of what I perceive, is that they just don't want their child to be hurt.
Yes.
You know, or to have, I don't know, come across, oh my gosh, my birth father was a murderer, or, you know, something really, really horrible like that.
Yeah.
Because that would be really tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Psychologically.
But there's also another side of the coin, right? You're also thinking that mom is thinking, did I do something wrong? Did I not give her enough love? Right. What made her want to go out and find someone? Was there something lacking in my love, right? And I'm giving you that perspective, which I thought about.
Well, like I said, from research says those three times are death of a parent, divorce, or birth of a child. And I was going through two of them at the same time.
Right.
So I did tell my mother that. I said, look, this is apparently pretty common.
Yeah.
Because it really it didn't pop into my head when I was having my children.
Yeah.
I was still happily married and my father was still alive.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot changed in
Absolutely.
a few years.
Right.
And so I guess the wheels started spinning in my head.
Absolutely.
And like I said, it was just a random newspaper article that triggered it.
That triggered it, yeah.
If
and then you found a match.
Yeah.
And you know,
and
nobody
I didn't even really think I would.
Yeah.
So that was kind of just random luck.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
Random that I read. I don't even read the newspaper every day. You know, like random that I saw that. Random
it was
that
meant
I
to be.
followed through on it. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I cut the article out and I didn't even send it in right away. You know, I put it in a pile somewhere and then found it like when I was, I don't know.
Yeah, you weren't even calling the girl back when she was calling you.
Exactly, because I didn't think that it would really be true.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. So now we're fast forward and you call your mom, your birth mom.
So yes, apparently the place in Las Vegas called her and gave her a heads up. And so she knew that eventually I would be calling, and I called, and we chatted for, quite a while, and she was ecstatic. And we figured out in the course of the phone call that, most likely we were related.
Right.
Things like, illnesses or common things like health issues, I guess you could say. Yeah. Health issues and appearances and things like that. I did do a lot of sleuthing. Once I had their name, I played internet detective. Of course. It also allowed me to back out if I wanted to, if I found anything that I was unsure of.
Yeah, you were protecting yourself.
Yeah, so I played internet sleuth, and I had the parents' names, and I was able to find out a lot about them. I was able to find a picture of my birth father online, but not my birth mother. I won't give it all away, but anyway, when we spoke, the first thing she did was apologize to me. And she felt so bad for giving me up. And I kind of said, look, I'm 38. I had a good life. Like, do not feel bad. I don't feel bad. That's not why I'm reaching out to you. I don't want anything from you. I'm not looking for anything. I just would love the opportunity to get to talk to you and so on.
But I'm sure she wanted to say sorry to you for so long, right? You just want to say, look, I'm sorry. Yeah. Right? I'm sure she's apologized in her head, but she actually got to apologize to you.
Yes. Yeah. So in my case, the story is that my birth parents, they were from New Jersey, and they were high school sweethearts, and had a little accident, and she got pregnant when she was in high school, and her family was very Catholic and sent her away to have the baby. Me. So, I was born 9 months later, and, it was discussed this was in the 60s, and she will be put up for adoption, and you will not raise her, and, all that stuff. Okay, fine. But where the whole story takes a twist is
a nice twist, actually.
Is that my birth parents went on to get married, and they're still married today.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And so they have 2 other children who are my full sisters.
Nice.
When I was doing the internet sleuthing, what was kind of fun was, like I said, I found a picture of my birth father, but I also was able to find a picture of one of my sisters just through connecting the dots, who had a different last name and everything because she was married, but she's a realtor.
Oh, that's too funny.
And I came across her real estate page, and in her real estate page is a picture of her with her dog. You know how some realtors do the dog thing? And I looked and I was like, she has to be my sister because I'm obsessed with dogs. Not only that, but we looked alike. So that was kind of a dead giveaway. The father, when I saw his picture, I was like, he could be anybody's father. He had brown hair, medium complexion. I was like, I guess he could be my father, but he could be, whoever. But when I saw her, the sister, I was like, wow, she looks like me.
Wow.
She really looks like me. So we wound up doing a DNA test, which was they didn't have the 23andMe and all that stuff back then. So I forget where I got it from, but I found one. And we did cheek swabs, and it took, a month or something to get the results, and they came back positive.
Wow, and you knew it.
I knew it. Now what's interesting is when I've since done Ancestry.com, and now all of my relatives are coming up, my birth relatives are coming up as my relatives. So it would have been a lot quicker and easier now.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, when I was born, the birth certificates were sealed in the state of New Jersey as well. So you couldn't go back and get the name of the hospital or the name of this or whatever. I didn't have my original birth certificate. I had like a revised birth certificate,
right,
is what I have from my adoptive parents. And New Jersey unsealed them, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned.
So I was able to get a copy, or I sent away for a copy, and then I sent my birth parents a copy.
Oh.
So, and she called me crying, it's so sweet, you know.
So have your birth mother and your mom met? Have both of them met?
They have.
And how do you address both of them?
My mom is my mom.
Okay.
And then I call my birth mother by her first name.
Okay.
So, Joan.
Okay.
So, yes. So this all played out, the phone call and the DNA was kind of between Thanksgiving and Christmas time. So then we decided that we should meet. Another twist in the story is they live in New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like, who lives in New Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I decided I was going to be brave, and I bought a plane ticket and went out President's Weekend by myself. There's like one flight a day that leaves from New Jersey or to Albuquerque at the time, and it lands at, midnight or something. And they met me in the airport, and they had this big sign like, "Welcome, Maribeth." It was really cute. It was really cute. And then we decided, they live about an hour and a half from the airport in Albuquerque. So we stayed in a hotel in Albuquerque. And then the next morning when I woke up, I got to meet my two sisters.
Oh, they both joined it.
Yeah, they both joined.
Oh,
Everybody wanted to come see me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were leaving from here, did you tell your kids where you were going?
Yes, I did.
Because your kids are young
Yeah, they were about kindergarten.
right?
Yeah, I think kindergarten.
Yeah.
So I told them once I connected and we got the DNA results back.
Okay.
I remember actually telling them in the car on the parkway on the way to my parents' house on Christmas. So I said, you know how we're going to Grandma and Grandpa's for Christmas? And I said, well, what would you think if you had a third set of grandparents? And they were like, sure.
The more the merrier. Did we get more gifts?
And so I, put it in very simplified terms like, well, Mommy was adopted and she didn't grow in Grandma's belly. She grew in some other lady's belly. And that other lady gave me to Grandma to raise. And that's why I grew up with them. But I found these people, and they live in New Mexico. And then all the kids wanted to know was all about New Mexico. Like, oh my God, do they live in a hut? Are they Ajobis? Are they, like whatever? Are they cave dwellers? And
there goes the serious topic.
And that was that. And then they so for their entire lives since kindergarten, they're just kind of like, well, we have 3 sets of grandparents, which I guess is very equivalent to someone who might have step parents or something.
Right.
So it's not that weird. And what is interesting is my birth parents are nothing like my parents that raised me. So, they're all good people. They all have that in common. But obviously, my birth parents are a lot younger. So they're 17 years older than me. I have one brother who's 12 years older than me. So I'm like, oh my God, they're more like my brother's friends. But I grew up here in, New Jersey. My dad worked in New York, wore a suit to work every day, businessman. My mom was a homemaker, conservative, Catholic, These folks are kind of like hippies. So very salt of the earth people. They both wound up being teachers for years. And then when they got older, they stopped teaching, older, like 40, and opened up a contracting business. And they were one of the biggest builders in their town of Los Alamos.
Wow. So like real estate is literally in your blood.
Isn't it? It's funny how that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
And it's funny because I remember saying to one of my sisters, like, I always thought I should have been an architecture major in college. She's like, oh my God, so did I. Like, so weird little things like that. The girls and we do some of the same gestures and facial expressions and all. For the first few years when we were meeting people and all, it was kind of like show and tell. Like, look, this is my new sister or whatever. And I would go out for drinks with their friends when I went out there and stuff, and everybody would be like checking me out, which was kind of funny. But once again, keep in mind, I was a real grown-up. I was like pushing 40 at this point.
Right.
So it wasn't, I was very comfortable and secure in who I was.
Right.
I wasn't looking to like run away to New Mexico.
Right.
I was like, no, my home's here and my family's here. However, I did want my moms to meet.
Right.
Absolutely. So I went out there that February, President's Weekend, and the trip went great. I think I went for 4 days, and I insisted on staying. They wanted me to stay in their home, and I was like, the Jersey in me. I was like, no. Yeah, I'm not staying in a stranger's house. You might be weirdo. I'm like, I want to stay in a hotel. So I stayed in a hotel, I think, the first 2 nights, and then I was very comfortable with them, and I stayed in their house after that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But when I was leaving and they brought me back to the airport, they kind of looked at each other and said, should we tell her? And I was like, oh, no, tell me what? And they're like, we actually have plane tickets to New Jersey because your grandmother still lives in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And we're going out in like a month. And we would love to meet the kids.
Aww.
I was like, yeah. So they came out to, to Metuchen, and I wanted my mom to meet them, and I asked my mom, I said, can you, ahead of time, I'm like, do you think you can handle this? Do you need to bring my sister along, my other sister? She's like, I can do this, I can do it. She's like, I do want to meet them. So we went to the Trattoria downtown with, it was both of my moms, my birth father and his mother, the grandmother, who was in Basking Ridge at the time. She was like in her 90s. And the grandmother was more like my mom, like conservative Jersey, whatever type of person. More of a different generation, I think, than the free-spirited birth parents. So, so they met. We had a great lunch. I was so proud of my mom for coming by her. I say by herself. She was with me, but it was like a big step for her to do without my dad.
Right. Absolutely. It takes a lot of guts.
Yeah. And she didn't cry, and she held it together, and great. So so that went well, and then that visit, they also met my children, and that was easy. I mean, they were young, and and the grandparents were young too. They were, they were in their 50s, right? Late 50s.
Yeah.
So they, would horse around with the kids and stuff. So really fun.
Yeah, different set of grandparents.
Different set of grandparents.
Yeah.
More like fun uncle and aunt type of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And does your mom now talk a little bit more about like that, or is that the norm? Or does she say, oh, how's Joan doing? When your mom talks to you now.
It's funny. Joan asks all the time about my mom. And my mom asks once in a blue moon about her. So I know it's still a little sensitive.
Yes.
Yeah,
and rightfully so.
Exactly. What my mom, it's funny. I think my mom is more comfortable with the fact that I got 2 extra sisters out of the deal.
Yeah.
Because she will ask about the girls. And one of the things that I feel so blessed that I met them when I did was that one of my sisters has since passed away. Oh. But my other sister and I have become really close.
Oh, nice.
She lives in Denver. So geographically, we're not close, but we have made it a point to visit each other once or twice a year.
Nice.
Since then, and we talk and we text. Last year, we took our first girls-only vacation, just the 2 of us, which was really a nice thing to just spend time alone with her.
And how are your siblings?
My siblings have all met her.
Okay.
And my sister, Chelsea. They've all met Chelsea. Like, I had a graduation party for my kids when they graduated high school a year and a half ago. Chelsea flew out. All my siblings came up. But they had actually met her before, too. Joan and Stan could not come out for the graduation party because he was ill.
Oh, okay.
So they have not come out. I feel like one of my brothers has met my birth parents.
Okay.
My other brother and sister have not.
Okay.
Just logistics. No real reason that they haven't.
Okay.
But the people do live in New Mexico, and I live in New Jersey. And my siblings all live like in the DC suburbs too.
Oh, okay.
So none of us are geographically close.
But do they ever talk to you about how mom feels, or how do you feel, Maribeth, or any sort of like...
You know, I think at this point it's been a long time. It's been 12 or 13 years that I've known them.
Yeah.
So it's more accepted, like these are the extra relatives,
Yes.
kind of.
No, but in the beginning, when you just...
In the beginning, yeah. I know my sister was really good about checking up on my mom.
She was, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kept reinforcing that. I was like, make sure mommy's okay. Tell me if she says anything, otherwise, because I don't want her to feel bad.
Right.
And actually, that Christmas, you know what? So like I said, I found all this information out between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That year for Christmas, one of the things I did was I wrote my mother a really long, heartfelt letter. Wrapped it in a bow, and I was like, you'll always be my mommy, kind of. That was the theme of it, but it was a really nice...
And that's the assurance she probably needed.
Exactly.
That, you know what, I'm going to be Maribeth's mom, and Joan and Stan aren't going to take that away from me.
Right.
Right? Because that's her security.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I did want her to know that. It was important for her to know how much I loved her and appreciated her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because she gave you a great house, and you've always been super happy with them. But this also closed a nice loop for you.
Exactly, it did. It really did. It helped with some medical stuff too. They say, like, you might want to know medical background and all that, and that's kind of interesting. We definitely have some ailments in common that now I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from.
Oh,
so
you have some genetic history now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you were to give some pointers to people out there who maybe are in the same situation, whether they are adopted, and would you recommend finding your birth parent?
I feel like I was able to think about it pretty clear-headed because of my age, I guess, and wisdom and life experience. I might have felt differently looking at age 18.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the thing that was most important to me that I would caution anybody else, if you can control yourself, was what I said about how I didn't want to interfere in someone else's life if they didn't want to be found.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Why do I need to ruin someone's life? You see a lot of stuff on TV, stories about someone had a baby and didn't tell the father, or, Lifetime movies or whatever. And I always think, oh, that'd be really rotten to do, to show up and really mess up someone's life.
Yeah.
So I did not want to do that. And the interesting thing is, it's the only place that my no, it's not the only place, but they registered with this place as well because they thought, well, if she wants to find us, we'll be here.
Yeah.
But we're not going to look for her because we don't want to ruin her life. So we both had the same kind of level of thinking about it, which turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah. And I think it's more about thinking beyond yourself, right? Thinking about the other person and saying, if you want, because today, since time has passed, now Facebook, and like you said, things are so easy. So if you want to encroach in someone's life,
absolutely,
so much easier to do
with
it.
that Ancestry.com and DNA, you hear stories all the time about, oh, I found out it's a half brother or some sibling I didn't know,
Yeah.
Mom had an affair, or dad had, oh my gosh, it's very scandalous.
Yeah.
But you have to be sensitive about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think for me, I'm glad I was older and able to think clear-headed about it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people probably wouldn't want to wait that long. I don't know.
Yeah. But it does close out a loop for you. And that's important to know, that if you want, there is information available, But I also think what Maribeth did for her mom in writing that letter is so sweet for for your mom.
I had to do something to reassure her.
Yes, yes. And we wanted to bring you Maribeth's story because you often hear the parent side of the story, and we brought that to you earlier. But this is what a child that's adopted, what is going on in their mind and what they are thinking. And so that you see the other side of the coin. Maribeth, we want to thank you for joining us on Soul Talks with Alka. We hope this show was helpful to you. We hope Maribeth gave you the information that you needed. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Soul Talks with Alka. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.